How's it going, y'all? We are coming back to you for another week of UCTV Sports, where we'll be recapping the latest in UConn sports news. I'm Danny Dashefsky, and alongside me is my co-host, Josh Schlactus. So, Josh, what do we have in store today?
Well, Danny, we're coming close to the busiest time of the year for sports here in stores, and we have a lot to talk about, so let's jump right into it. UC Sports starts right now.
UConn football was down in New Orleans this weekend to face off against a red-hot Tulane team. But what has been the norm for UConn football, the team stood no chance against an extremely well-talented Tulane squad, and was handled easily, losing 49-7, dropping them to 1-5 on the year. And with yet another loss under UConn's belt, the seat is getting hotter and hotter for head coach Randy Edsall. So we're going to throw it over to the doghouse to see if they believe Edsall is at the hottest seat of any UConn coach, or if they have another name in mind.
Welcome into the Doghouse, where each week we debate the hottest topics in UConn athletics. I'm Noam Watt, joined by Eric Gallichio, as well as Ryan Panny. And boy, guys, do we have a lot to talk about this week. To be frank, it's been a really rough fall season for UConn athletics, which brings me to a question that I saw on Twitter this week from Store South. Between Randy Edsall, head coach of UConn football, Mike Cavanaugh, head coach of UConn men's hockey, and Ray Reed, head coach of UConn men's soccer, which coach is sitting on the hottest seat right now? Eric, you first.
I think the obvious choice is Edsall, but I'm going to throw a little curveball here. I'm going to go with Cavanaugh. I think the fact that we've been in the Hockey East for nearly 7 years now, Cavanaugh has a total record of 78 wins, 109 losses, and 27 ties. I believe the production should be a lot better, especially considering, guys, we've had some of the top 5 recruiting classes in the country the last 2 years, and the production just hasn't been there.
No,
I think with Iskahoff, absolute beast. I think with the goalie, Wamashka, sorry. It's hard to pronounce, I'm sorry.
He's an animal.
I think we have a good core of people, but I've also started to see some of these younger underclassmen deciding to opt out of UConn to get drafted or be a part of the AHL and ultimately the NHL. And I think that's unacceptable. I think the time has come where we need to take strides. We need to develop these top-rated recruits that we keep hearing about, and we need to do something about it. We got to win.
Yeah, they got to be better. Ryan, how about you?
Well, you guys can call me Captain Obvious. I'm going with Randy Edsall. The man is back. He's 5-25 in his return to UConn.
5-25.
Just
one
5
win
wins.
every 6 tries.
It's good math. I mean, I'm telling you, this team looks flat every year. All 3 years I've been here, it's been all Randy Edsall. It's been a mess. The team looks every year flat. No quarterback play. We have Beaudry, who played this year. Zergiotis, we thought was going to be the savior. Turned out to be nothing. Kevin Mensah plays very well. He's a good back. But again, this team, he always brings up in his press conferences, lack of talent.
So get the talent.
Exactly. Get the talent, and if you can't, coach these kids up. You're a college coach. It is your job to teach these guys. They're clearly good enough to be here.
Right.
They're not scrubs.
I don't like to put the players on the hot seat for this.
Exactly.
Honestly, the same results are happening year in, year out. And I know personally we all have relationships with some of the players on the team, and they're trying. It's not that they're not trying. They're
Exactly.
So what is going wrong here? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. The players are there. They want to win, but the coaches just aren't maximizing their potential whatsoever.
Yeah.
They got guys who want to win. They got guys who care about Connecticut football, who play every play like it's their last play, which Edsall talks about every single week. And yet the results, 5-25 over 3 years, it's atrocious.
And we're not being competitive. That's the thing.
No, not even close to competitive. I mean, their last 2 games, they've gone down 56-0 and 49-0.
Unacceptable.
It's bad.
Yep.
So I'm going to have to actually disagree with you guys, though. I think you guys both make valid points. I don't think there's enough money in UConn hockey right now to fire Mike Cavanaugh. And Randy Edsall, they signed him to a 5-year contract, and yes, he does have a buyout after the season, which wouldn't cost UConn anything, but you got to give him the 5 years to try and at least rebuild the program. It's been super turbulent so far, but remember his first stint didn't start so hot, but by the end of it, they were in a BCS Bowl. I'm going to have to go with Ray Reed. His legacy, I think, is on the line this year. The last 2 years, they've been very one-dimensional. Last year was Abdu Baki Jam, who scored the majority of their goals. This year was Jordan Hall, who, Eric, you talked about a couple weeks ago in this segment, saying this UConn men's soccer team, they're one major injury away from a terrible season. That one major injury happened to Jordan Hall.
Fortunately.
With a torn ACL, which is just, it's awful.
I feel for him.
And they're 4-8-1. They haven't won the conference tournament since 2007. They haven't advanced to the NCAA quarterfinals since 2013, and they haven't won a national championship in 20 years, since 2000. I think this is Ray Reid's last season. I think he's the one on the hottest coach.
It is.
On the hottest seat.
It is. This is a great question from Twitter. It is so sad that we have to have this conversation, though. Yeah. You have Gina Auriemma. Yeah. You have Nancy Stevens, two outstanding coaches. Dan Hurley's a great young coach here. Mm-hmm. And then you have the other side of sports. These are the forgotten sports because the coaching has just been terrible.
I agree. I know we're supposed to debate, but I agree.
Yeah. Exactly. I think all three of them, there's a rightful case for all three of them to be gone after this year because of the results that they have produced, or really that they haven't produced. But moving on to hopefully better things. Ryan, you just talked about Gino and Dan Hurley. Basketball season is right around the corner. UConn basketball kicks off their season this Friday night with first night. And on Monday, they had their final AAC Media Day before moving to the Big East next year.
Let's get it.
With that being said, the Huskies are looking to go out with a bang. The women are projected to be the #1 team in the conference this year, with Crystal Dangerfield being projected as the preseason conference player of the year. And the men, with a talented freshman class, are projected to be #6 in the conference. I think that's a little bit low.
I agree.
Tariq Gilbert, Christian Vitale, preseason second team. So who do you guys think will have the better season? Feel free to define better as however you want.
I'm going with the women. I mean, if you want to argue better as being the standard, 2 losses at least this season, I'm going with the women though, because this is a team that's obviously going to make the tournament. They're always a shoo-in for the tournament. They're always destroying the AAC. And Crystal Dangerfield's great. She's very good. She was overshadowed by Katie Lou and Nafisa, who are dominant players, but all UConn players are. Kristen Williams showed outstanding promise in that Notre Dame game. I was lucky enough to be there. She was crazy good in that hostile environment. I'm excited to see what she can do in year 2. And then going off that, another freshman turning sophomore, Livinell Sodota.
Oh no.
6'5". We're not going to see her dunk in a game, but she is dominant in the paint. I want to see her get more action. And then Aubrey Griffin. She's from Ossining. That's like 20 minutes from where I'm from. That girl is sick, all right? 33 is low for her. She is great. She's apparently the funniest player on the team.
Yep.
The atmosphere is amazing on this team.
Kristen Williams on that team.
Oh, exactly. Kristen's hilarious too.
I think Ono's the player to watch for breakout this year. She played 3 for USA all summer long. Apparently she's gotten a lot bigger, a lot stronger. So
this is a slept-on team.
What do you think?
Ryan, I'm going to completely disagree with you on this. I'm going to be very strong here, but I think the only way that UConn women could be better than last year or better than the men is if they win the national tournament. I hate to admit it to the people watching that I truly don't believe they're going to win the national championship this year. I think Olivia Nelson-Odota, she's a promise, but at the same time, I still think she's very raw. She still is coming into herself, still trying to figure out her post game. I'm going with the men's basketball team here. I think the improvement that Hurley has shown in the past 2 stints, whether it be with Wagner or whether it be with Rhode Island, drastic improvements in year 2, and I don't expect to see anything different here at UConn. I think with the great talented freshman class, Cook, honestly, I think everyone should really pay attention to Cook this year. He's been really under the radar. No one's really talked about him since he pretty much came in January last year. So he kind of fell under the radar with all the recruiting websites and all that stuff. But with the freshman class, we've seen Booknight so far in practice. He's a stud.
Oh, he's a baller.
I expect the UConn not just to be in the top 3 or 4 teams. I expect them to make a play at the American Athletic Conference Championship this year.
It's pretty bold.
And it would be, in my opinion, better than what the women would accomplish.
12 Final Four appearances straight. Gino Auriemma. I put my money on him all year. That's me.
I think the women will make the Final Four this year. I don't think women's college basketball is as strong as it was last year. Notre Dame is,
they're weaker.
Practically all of their roster is gone from last year. The women don't have as loaded a recruiting class as they usually do. Next year, the addition of Paige Buchers, the team's going to be absolutely dirty. But this year, I'm going to have to agree with you, Eric. I think a Cook would make that freshman class really strong. But add Jalen Gaffney and James Booknight and Richie Springs.
No one's talking
that's
about
4 really strong players. They're going to buy into Hurley's culture. They're going to beat Florida in the second week of the season.
Florida's weak.
Men's basketball team's going to impress this year. They're going to make a run at conference tournament. They're going to be a bubble team, NCAA tournament, and make some noise as a Cinderella run. So thank you guys for tuning in to UC Sports tonight. For tuning into the Doghouse tonight. Now back to the guys with UC Sports.
Thanks, guys. It's always interesting to hear from the Doghouse. Although UConn couldn't pull off the win, the women's soccer team was able to win twice.
Yeah, that's right, Danny. They sure did. The women's soccer team hosted both the University of Houston and SMU this week and came out with a win in both games. Against Houston, they won by a score of 2-1 on the back of junior forward Yamilee Eveillard, who scored both goals in the game against SMU. The Huskies won 1-0 with the lone goal being scored in overtime by freshman midfielder Cara Jordan and an assist from Kess Elmore. This week, the team goes to play USF in Florida in Tampa on Thursday, and then they go to play UCF in Orlando on Sunday. It looks to be a good two matchups for a team that has a lot of momentum right now.
And speaking of soccer, the men's team just can't seem to get hot, as this has been a disappointing season to say the least. On Saturday, they traveled to Cincinnati to face off against the Bearcats and soundly beat them. With Jordan Hall out for the rest of the season, the squad needs others to step up, and they got that from a penalty kick from Felix Metzler, and in the second as another late goal from Ibrahima Diop. But they couldn't keep the same momentum from Cincinnati at Syracuse, and on Tuesday they lost 1-0. UConn has only 4 games left in the season, with their record standing at 4-8-1. So let's hope they can salvage a 500 season. One team that has had no trouble winning the season is our field hockey team, and this week was more of the same as they notched 2 more wins on this season, Friday and Sunday. On Friday, UConn played against the Providence Friars, who didn't let up much in the first quarter, but UConn would get their goals later as they put up 3 goals by the end of the game, as well as a 7th shutout performance by Cheyenne Sprecher. Then on Saturday, they were again at home, but this time against the University of Delaware, and repeated the same performance, winning 3-0. The team's record stands now at 12-2.
Yeah, so now we're going to switch gears over to hockey. The men's hockey team are still without a win in this early part of the season, as they lost on both Friday and Saturday. In Friday's home opener, UConn was up against Army West Point. All the goals in the game happened during the second period, with Army scoring first, UConn answering with a goal from junior forward Brian Regali, and then Army scoring one more time to take the final lead of the game, a game that ended with a score of 2-1. On Saturday, it was more of the same as they would lose to RPI 5-3. In that game, the lower-classmen took over for UConn as the 3 goals were scored by freshman Jan Kuznetsov, freshman Vladislav Firstov, and sophomore Jakim Kondelik. They look to come right back again against RPI, a familiar opponent, this week as they play them in New York this time on Friday.
And thankfully, things are looking much brighter on the women's end. So far as the women's hockey team has been playing great. They played twice this weekend, and after their first loss this season on Friday to UNH, they came right back with a 2-0 victory over Holy Cross on Saturday. They're now 3-1, and Morgan Wabick's goal late in the second period on Saturday was her 3rd of the season, which leads the team.
Volleyball struggled mightily this weekend at home. They went against Cincinnati on Friday and East Carolina on Sunday, losing both by a score of 3-0. Sophomore Kennedy Jake Turner, however, led the way for the Huskies as she tallied 10 kills as well as 5 blocks for the weekend and had some incredible support from redshirt sophomore Courtney Morris, who put up an impressive 38 assists over the weekend, 28 of those coming in the second game against ECU, by far leading the team in that category. They look to bounce back this week as they go on the road to play Memphis and SMU. Over this past weekend, UCTV was able to take a trip down to Philly for the American Athletic Conference Media Day. For the men's team, we got to hear from Coach Dan Hurley, as well as senior Christian Vital and redshirt junior Alteric Gilbert, and they had some really interesting things to say. Here is one of the clips we got about CV and what he wants his legacy to be when it's all said and done after this season here at UConn.
I mean, just because, in our gym, you see all those, banners, you see 4 national championships every time you go to our gym. You see all our lottery picks, you see all the All-Americans, and as being a guy who's been here for 4 years and been somewhat productive, that that's the next step you try to get to in your career. You try to be mentioned with Kemba, Shabazz, Ray Allen. Even though that's a hell of a list to be a part of, but your goal has to be try to be a part of that. So I'm trying to work on my habits every day, and hopefully we could win as a team, and then maybe it'll lead to that individual stuff.
For the women's team, we were able to interview Coach Gino Ariema as well as senior Crystal Dangerfield, junior Megan Walker, and sophomore Kristen Williams. Here is one of the clips from Kristen Williams about her off-season work as she looks to make a massive leap heading into year 2.
I played against guys a lot this summer, and I played 3-on-3, so that's helped me defensively and offensively. But majority of the time I was working on my defense because that's what I struggled most with last year.
Check out our Twitter at UCTV Sports for more content from the day, and we will also have packages coming out for an even more in-depth look at everything the coaches and players had to say on Monday.
And after recapping all that went down over the past week, we are going to send it over to Danny Barletta for this week's Husky High Five Plays of the Week. So, Danny, let's hear about it.
What's up, Husky Nation? I'm Danny Barletta with this week's Husky High Five, the top 5 plays of this awesome week in UConn sports. Let's get right to it now. Number 5, we go to field hockey. Sophie Hamilton with a great deke and awesome shot for the goal against Providence. UConn would go on to win this game 3-0. Number 4, women's soccer. Jackie Harnett with the corner kick and Yamilee Eveillard with the header goal, her first goal in 2 seasons. That would tie the game at 1 and send the game to overtime, where we'll pick it up later in this countdown. Number 3, volleyball. Avery Spaziani makes a great defensive play that leads to a point for the Huskies. However, they would go on to lose to Cincinnati 3-0. Number 2, back to field hockey. Cheyenne Sprecher with a great sliding save in the win over Providence. And number 1, back to women's soccer. Here in overtime, Kess Elmore passes ahead to Yamilee Eveillard again, dribbles up the sideline and puts a floater over the head of the goalie off the face of the Houston defender for the game-winning goal. That would give the Huskies a 2-1 win. They would pick up another win over the weekend to put them right back in the thick of the AAC standings. That does it for this week's Husky High Five. Now I'm going to send it back to Josh and Danny. Stay tuned for next week's Top 5 Plays.
And before we end the show, we'd like to shout out some Husky alumni in the pros in honor of homecoming weekend coming up here at UConn who are playing well on the biggest stages. George Springer is back in the ALCS alongside his Astros teammates playing against the Yankees in the 2017 ALCS rematch. Springer hit a Game 2 huge home run, tying the game in the 7th that would help them win that game. And whenever the playoffs come around, we all already know Springer's going to shine.
He's very clutch. But now we're going to go to football. Jets tight end UConn alum Ryan Griffin caught a big touchdown in the Jets' upset victory against the Cowboys, who of course have another UConn alumni in cornerback Byron Jones. It's always great to see UConn players making an impact at the next level. And that'll do it for this week's UC Sports. We had a lot of fun here, and we are looking forward to next week, as there will be a lot much more to cover. To keep up with what we're doing, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at UCTV Sports, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at UCTV Channel 14.
And for Josh Schlactus and the rest of the crew behind the scenes here at UCTV Sports, I'm Danny Dashefsky, and see you later, UConn.